Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 3. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, in the opening, we have Wednesday trying to steal Goody's book back from her mom, but her mom's one step ahead of her, and so Morticia makes it clear why she doesn't want Wednesday to have the book out there. They kind of have their discussion. It's like, okay, so let me explain why I need it. It's about Enid and her death, and whoever's behind all this might be coming after Enid, and I need my visions back so that I can, help with this situation. But Morticia makes it clear to her, it's like, you've never mastered your abilities. You've kind of forced the situation. All you've done by using Goody's book, that's not how you go about it. That's the shortcut, and that's going to lead you to a road of madness, just like my sister. And it's like, it's like, well, I'm not affiliated. It's like, no, you're not. You're my daughter, and as your mother, I'm trying to protect you. So I will not give you Goody's book back. You need to kind of take things at its own time and pace, because she even knows about the whole Kansas City scalper situation. But it's like, yeah, like, Wednesday brought up, like, every, artist kind of has their signature and whatnot. So, but obviously, there's nothing that's going to escape her mom's eyes. Morticia's just, that keen, and I'm wondering if that's just, Wednesday adopts that from her mom. Like, Wednesday's keen eye and instincts are from her mom as well. So, and it makes you wonder, did Morticia get it from her mom? And without her power, she has to go about the investigation the very, hands-on, direct way. But she gets a little help from our new favorite stalker, Agnes, who wants to be helpful. It's so interesting because in some situations, they feed off of how vicious and Wednesday can be when she tears you down. But other times, they'll be like, she was like, oh, the fact is, because it's like, oh my gosh, she tried to kill me. And it's like, yes, but she didn't, which proves that she's an amateur. And she was like, ouch. But she's like, but I deserve that because it's my opportunity. She looks at it as like an opportunity to grow because once again, she wants Wednesday's admiration and attention. The rest of that fan club is grouped in it as well because what's her name? Sophie or Sophia? The person who shapeshift themselves into be Galpin so they could get into his phone because that's how Agnes got into it in the first place. But getting the message from Carl about the bullpen, going through some of the photos, she found it's a cabin in a certain area. Same area is where Nevermore is going for its camping trip, which she initially had no interest in whatsoever. But it's like convenience. It's going to be nearby. It'll make it easier to get. That's my main transportation there. And I'll be able to kind of investigate on my own. At the same time, Pugsley and Eugene are dealing with the slurp of it all. It's like, hey, I think he's regenerating. I think he's growing a brain back. So it kind of answers some of the questions I had last episode where I was like, okay, like, is he going to fully replace his brain or is he going to go a little Frankenstein here and kind of stitch together a brain? It seems like once he's eaten a brain, he kind of, I guess his body kind of adapts to it and it starts growing because I guess it's almost like you digest it and then it starts filling in for the absence of a brain in your own head. You just need time for it to grow and he'll be kind of maybe eventually his body will catch his brain or rather his mind will eventually catch the brain up to be what because it's like it's not your brain, not less by eating a brain he's replenishing his own. Once again, who knows how the zombie rules work in this universe. It's like obviously we don't say the Z word, but Pugsley think he's got this so under control, obviously. But it's like, right, this is something important to him. It's kind of like the first real friend and / pet that he's had at something that's kind of his own at Nevermore, and he kind of doesn't want to have that taken away from him. So, but it's like, well, with the camping trip coming up, they can't just leave a zombie here to just kind of like to its own devices, potentially, eating people because they don't know it got the driver's ed teacher last episode, but because they're just thinking like, oh, like the mystery meat that Pugsley's been feeding him. He's like, oh yeah, this is what's making his brain grow. Not like, well, the traditional zombie thing as Eugene keeps bringing up. It's like brain. It's kind of left. He's like, brr. But he's like, yes, you're my bruh too. And it's like, no, you idiot. As his zombie, he's obviously saying brains. The thing that they eat. We also learned about Bianca's mom kind of escaped that cult, but the cult leader's still at large, Gideon. So she's kind of got her eyes open, but like any cult situation, it's so easy to get seduced and brought back in. Because now she's on the run, and Bianca's doing everything she can to keep her mom hidden away, so that Gideon doesn't track her down and try to convince her. Because it's like, right, I've basically got the feds on top of this. I've pushed them to go after this, and mom, all you have to do is stay clear and just stay hidden and let this get resolved. It's like Gideon took advantage of you when you were vulnerable, and you know you're not to blame. You're a victim in all this, so let me protect you. But like I said, I just get the feeling it's going to blow up in her face because Gideon's going to somehow track her down, and he's going to bring her back into the fold and convince her like, no, don't listen to your daughter, I'm the right person for this, like we did so much good together. I get the feeling that's where that's going to go, but we'll have to wait to see. So Bianca's got a lot to deal with, and I guess that's also why she's but why she's kind of being blackmailed and manipulated into serving Barry's best interest, or rather, quote unquote, Nevermore's best interest. But Barry claims it's for Nevermore's best interest, but we still don't know like the full scale of what he has planned. Whether he's just, like I said, has good intentions and just going about it like the most shady and slimy way. But maybe Bianca's kind of worried about her future needs to be pristine and great, because it's like, I need to be in a position where I can look after my mom and protect her and be in a powerful enough position, but also to kind of free myself from all of this. So that like once this is resolved, maybe I can kind of clear myself of everything and build this prestigious life for myself, not being held down. But once again, maybe it all kind of correlates and connects to, hey, I want to protect my mom, but I just need to put myself in a good position to do that. I don't know. Oh, really quickly, I previously brought up last episode whether or not there'd be kind of an Enid and Agnes thing, and it seems like it is, but it hasn't reached the point that it probably will eventually reach. Even though Enid doesn't want to be involved in Wednesday's investigations and stuff like that, she wants to kind of enjoy her life. It's still the thing of, she was almost looking like, wait, what? Agnes is helping you as your assistant? Like, you could tell that rubbed Enid the wrong way. It never came up again, but I feel like that's them, like I said, planting the seeds. They did it last episode too, where just Agnes is kind of like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that, especially when she laid out like, oh, I got all this prepared for you ahead of time, Wednesday, I'm here to serve you, even though it's like, because Enid's like, well, go ahead, probably thinking, go ahead and be her assistant, I'm her best friend, you can never replace me. But it might be a thing of, in Wednesday's attempt to try and save Enid would start feeling like Wednesday's pushing her further away, when in actuality it's like, I'm trying to keep you at a distance so that I can save your life, because if I let you know your life's in danger, you're dramatic about the things in your life that are frivolous, like now finding out that you're kind of destined to die, or like there's a possibility of you dying, which, it's one thing where like, oh, the threat of everything you've had to deal with over the course of the series, I could end up dying, versus like, oh, like a premonition being like, there's a good chance you might die. Especially because Morticia brings up the point like, you haven't mastered your visions, like things aren't so set in stone, you're so taking things at such face value, but it is open to interpretation that there might be more at play here, and you might be interpreting things one way when in actuality there's something else at play, that you get tunnel vision on one thing, you kind of lose peripheral view of everything else. And we've seen in the past that Wednesday can have tunnel vision. She continues to have tunnel vision. That's why she's kind of in the predicament between her and her mom right now, is because of that laser focused tunnel vision and not seeing the peripherals, as I said. I don't know if they did this just kind of as a wink and nod, a slight homage to the second Addams Family movie from the 90s. What was it? Family Values, was that it? The one where it's like, I believe Wednesday and Pugsley go to like, I don't know if it was a summer camp or whether it was like a Boy Scouts and Girl Scout things, because now Nevermore is there with like these Phoenix cadets, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't think about that until I was sitting down watching the episode. I was like, there was kind of a similar thing. Like I said, it might have just been a summer camp thing. I think it was a summer camp thing, but there was some like cadets and kind of scout elements to it, I think. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like a slight homage to that in this capacity, or just was that not even a thought process at all. Once again, I could be also be misremembering because I have not seen that movie in so long. I definitely have seen it like when I was older, but like I don't remember when the last time I did. I do remember seeing it like on TV at one point in time. But either way, I also love that the cadet head scout leader, whatever the case may be, is Anthony Michael Hall. Brought him in for one episode just to immediately get murked in the same episode. But the place got double booked by Nevermore and the Phoenix Cadets, so it turns into a competition to see who gets to stay. Wednesday's motivated to see this through because it's like, well, it's a means to an end, because if I'm able to like get us to stay here, it helps us stay close so I can continue my investigation. So she is promptly motivated. Because I'm trying to remember, like, she had ulterior motives for participating in the VIDS last season too, and I think she kind of got distracted, if I remember correct. I wish I went back and rewatched it. I want to say it was like episode 3 of last season, wasn't it? Like those competitions happened. I don't quite remember. So it's just kind of an interesting parallel because, like I said, I don't think she was like she has ulterior motives in this, but like she's a lot more dedicated now to this whole situation because of said motivation, versus back then she was easily swayed by her motivations to kind of not care about the games, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. Obviously, Wednesday showed herself to be the envy because it's like literally if it wasn't for Wednesday's leadership, they would have lost because things kind of went sideways with the defenders of the Zephyrs, and then like their attackers kind of got immediately dealt with. You got to give it to these cadets. Like they came in, I guess they were able to come up with a quick strategy. I mean, I guess you have familiarity enough with Nevermore to have those countermeasures of tear gas to fight against the wolves, and you had gas mask already. You shot an arrow to knock off Ajax's beanie so that he'd end up turning like one of their other like defenders to stone. So it's like they had those countermeasures ready ahead of time, you know. But I mean, Nevermore's notorious enough that you probably know all the like outcasts that go there, so you just had to like take what you already have and make it applicable for this game. But yeah, Wednesday already had countermeasures of her own with Eugene, with the bees, and her being able to just walk by, the bees not messing with her. You probably can make the argument maybe they're a little afraid of her, so like, why would we mess with her? Also, she's like, the tear gas isn't going to be enough to make me tear up, so she gets their Zephyr, and then eventually like zip lines her way all the way to the thing, knocks the guy out, breaks their Zephyr, and then ends up being the winner. Barry does bring up an interesting point about it, the irony that she is the very antisocial person that she is, that she has no FOMO but phobia, fear of being included. But it's like, yeah, like the fact, and once again, it plays into Barry rallying the school. He's like, yeah, you were able to do something that no one else could really do. But the fact is, you kind of rallied everyone together. You end up being kind of like this bridge at Nevermore that kind of ends up inadvertently connecting everyone. Kind of the students rally behind you as like the hero who protected the school and who continues to lead the charge and just be the badass that you are. So, well, Wednesday also has to contend with both of her parents being there, which I love that Gomez was thinking this could have been a nice bonding moment between him and Pugsley, but Pugsley was like, well, I've got the whole, well, I can't let you know, Dad, but I've got this whole like zombie thing I'm trying to keep low key, so I can't hang out with you. I'm just gonna hang out with Eugene, and obviously like Morticia and Wednesday not vibing at all. Also, I really like that look with like the little umbrella and just kind of like, it's not a dress, like just every, like her attire when she first shows up there, I was like, oh, that looks really good on her. Considering the setting, you need something a little more befitting, and it looks kind of almost like funny enough, especially considering where the episode goes. It kind of goes in line with this kind of being battle ready and ready for the environment of being out there in the woods. It makes sense that you kind of dress to match that environment, but it's just a really nice, great look on Catherine Zeta-Jones. I mean, God forbid anything would look great on Catherine Zeta-Jones because it's fucking Catherine Zeta-Jones, but I digress. Wednesday ended up going off on her own to investigate the cabin, the bullpen, and she ended up finding kind of the investigation board in there. And it turns out this is all relating to patients from, was it Willow Hill? The facility that Tyler is locked up at that, Thornhill ends up at the end of the episode. We'll get to that later. And, Fairburn, is the psychiatrist there. And apparently these kind of like people outcast that passed away. And it's like, oh, why was Galpin investigating this? Most likely there was foul play involved to make it seem like, natural causes, or might have even made them staged them to look like suicides to cover up the fact is that most likely outcasts are being murdered. It could also be a thing of either purposely murdered, or they could be unintentionally being murdered in regards of, because they are patients at a facility and they're outcast. No one's really going to take much notice if like they're being experimented on. So that could also be something. So that puts Fairburn kind of into some hot water where you're like, well, she kind of seems like suspect numero uno, especially because she's the one that's kind of got this whole claim of being able to study, and understand outcasts, even though she's not one herself. It's like, well, maybe the reason why she's able to study them so well is because of, her running experiments on them. But I forgot when Wednesday said like some of these go back a little ways, because not all the people are the same age either. Because like I think there was one of the patients that died was like a 50-something-year-old, and another one might have been like I think a 20-something-year-old or something of that vein. So, I mean, it also makes sense why Galpin would be investigating. It's like his son is there, and whatever's going on there, regardless of what his son done, it's still like Tyler's still his. And it's like, it's my job as your parent to protect you. And so I want to make sure that nothing happens to you. Because when Wednesday went to Galpin's funeral, which was actually really sad that like only two people showed up, the priest, Santiago, and Fairburn. Santiago's only there because like as the current sheriff and him being a prior sheriff, she kind of had to go there to kind of officiate it. And Fairburn was only there because Tyler needed to know for sure that his dad was dead. So, but Fairburn brought up like, oh, like apparently Galpin only went to see Tyler once, and Tyler kind of flipped out, transformed, and it took like, I think, didn't she say like maybe 20 minutes of the shock collar to eventually make him return to a human form? But that was the only time Galpin visited, and I wonder, is that when he first discovered that stuff was going down? That might have been early days in Tyler's like incarceration there, or it could have been like after he investigated and found out about it, he wanted to question Tyler about it, but Tyler wasn't going to listen. So I'd assume it was, I want my thought, just no clear evidence of it, just a feeling I have. I feel like it's probably like him meeting Tyler, going to see Tyler was probably like early days, but Yeah, really quickly staying on the Galpin thing, it is kind of sad. Considering everything that Tyler did, it's understandable why no one's going to show up at your funeral, but it is kind of sad that the situation is what it is, that kind of no one will miss you and you would just kind of be like remembered in such a bad light, It's one of those situations of what's better to be like forgotten or remembered in the worst light possible, I think some arguments could be like, well, it's better to just never be forgotten. But I like, under the circumstances, I don't know if that would be the case or not. I mean, I guess arguably be like, well, people have forgotten him now that he's dead. It's kind of like, yeah, we're just going to remove him from our mind and just move on with our lives. I mean, it's interesting, too, because we haven't really dealt with the town at all. Because obviously we stayed more on the Nevermore side of things. Yeah, we're dealing with normies to some extent, but like we're not as like in town as we were in season one. So kind of haven't had a reason to be yet, even with the murders going on. You know, we've had small interactions with like the normie world in town, but like outside of the connections with like Santiago in that capacity, it's just kind of like it's not to the same lengths and extent as season one, which I think is interesting. Not unless that changes in like the back half of the season or something. Oh yeah, but I went on this massive diatribe to go back to the whole Willow Hill of it all, especially because Fairburn was the one that was like they have no avians there, which I'm like, I kind of got that feeling like that was bullshit. Like there is an avian there because I don't know if she's really the Thornhill of this season or not. Ironically enough, once again, Thornhill being there at the end of the season, but I mean at the end of the episode, but maybe it's just maybe there's stuff happening under her watch that she's like maybe she's done some effed up stuff, but she's not necessarily involved in all of this. Like maybe someone else is doing the cover up or something. Like the woman that serves like and works beside Fairburn, like the one that's got the very happy disposition. Not unless it's her. Like maybe she's not maybe she's secretly an avian and Fairburn has no idea and she's killing anyone that because it might be a thing of oh my god the work that Fairburn does is so good and so right for the world because this could easily be a situation of kind of like the Thornhill of it all. Maybe like this person was a former patient of her Fairburn's and they're thinking like, oh, I'm doing good by protecting the program because look at me, I'm well adjusted, I'm someone that was cured by her and I'm trying to do right by her by protecting the program by killing anyone that would jeopardize it, you know. And so happy disposition worker at the facility kind of is number one on my. So like I said, I think Fairburn might be doing some shady stuff, but she might not be directly connected. She might not even be aware of what this person is doing in her name. She might not even know that that's what this is all in relation to. Or once again, in a very Thornhill-esque manner, she could be like the puppeteer. Then there's the whole element of Lois is the name that was on the board, and Wednesday's like, who's Lois? So either that's the real name and someone's using like a fake name or stolen identity to kind of operate out and about. But my brain being what it is, I'm like, there's no way it's just Lois, right? There's got to be some trick to it. So my brain immediately was like, is it going to be upside down? And I was like, well, it's like, no, that doesn't work. I start going, well, they're not doing a Danganronpa and it's going to be like that, right? That it's backwards. And I was like, and also, well, this is funny enough with the Danganronpa of it all. No direct spoilers, but slight minor spoilers. It's like, oh, a clue is it looks like numbers, and then you look at it carefully. It's a pretty easy thing to be like, oh, in actuality, that's a name. It's just written backwards. It just happens to look like numbers. What if we have the inverse here where it looks like the name Lois, but it's actually like 5017? You know, that's why I'm like, I don't know. I could be like totally full of like shit because it's not the same thing. So it probably is just straight up Lois, but my brain being what it is, I'm like, oh, could it be more? It's like, no, it might, Arkham's Razor, it might just be as simple as the name is Lois and it is important. But it could also be like, I feel like you would have included some periods if it was an acronym, but I don't know. Just, I'm curious to see what that is. Maybe this has something to do with like the first Outcasts. Like maybe it's like a maybe someone that went missing. Oh no, because you feel like some of that would like because for them to not have a picture or any info about this Lois, just had their name at the top, meaning like all this kind of connects to them. I was about to say not unless this was like the patient zero in this whole ordeal, but I'm like, you'd have files on this Lois, wouldn't you? So in her desperation to get back Goody's book and so that she could get answers, Wednesday ends up challenging her mom to a fencing duel. And I immediately, like, it's not until they started getting into it, I was like, wait, I was like, fencing? Catherine Zeta-Jones, I was like, I didn't remind myself, I was like, wait, wasn't she in a Zorro movie? And then I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I was like, I thought I remembered that, the Antonio Banderas Zorro movie. And I'm trying to remember, I feel like there were two of those. There's definitely obviously one, the like 98 movie, I believe, but I feel like there was a second one maybe a year or two later. I don't remember. I don't know if she was in that one as well, but like I knew I remembered her being connected. I was like, once again, I don't know if that's meant to be like a little wink and nod and homage in that capacity because of that, or whether I'm just reading way too much into it. It just feels too purposeful. Like, oh, she was in a Zorro movie, now she's like fencing her daughter. It's just how their family like settles these type of things. So Wednesday's like, yo, if I win, you have to give me Goody's book, and Morticia's like, if I win, I'm gonna burn it so that it's become no it's no longer an issue, because she even asked Gomez about early in the episode, like, I need your full support, and what we can't, like, I get it, you want to spoil our daughter, but like we need to stand as a united front. We can't give into her, because this isn't, we're here to give her what she needs, not what she wants type of situation. I actually wasn't expecting the fight to go the way it did. I actually thought like Wednesday might actually win the fight. It's like, no, her mom easily outclasses her. It's like, yeah, up to a certain extent. It's like, right, I taught you everything you know, but it's like, I didn't teach you everything I know. And ended up winning. Because I thought the twist was going to be that with, Slurp on the loose and the whole ticking clock and heart thing, I thought that would mess up the fight, and like maybe Morticia would make a mistake and that would give Wednesday the opening to win. But no, I still think at the end of the day, Morticia will probably still give her the book and not destroy it, because she knows how important it is. But also, like, especially because Wednesday ended up helping her, like, by taking down Slurp at the end when he was kind of approaching behind her. So it's like, and you could tell that it was almost a situation of, thank you, honey, for doing that. So I halfway expected her to be like, all right, I'll give you the book, but that never happened this episode, but probably will in the future. Because it's interesting too, because it's something that it actually led to an interesting conversation, a little bit of a tidbit of information conversation where Morticia brings up the fact is that you're throwing this out here now must mean you're getting this from your grandmother, because she's like, I know you and your grandmama have been talking, and it's like, this particular situation, this duel, is actually how your grandmother would have me and Ophelia resolve most of our situations as well. Which she is still continuing to be that conversation that Barry is trying to push when it comes to Morticia, because Morticia's like, I did reach out, but my mother never got back to me, so we'll see what things kind of go on that front as well. Speaking of Slurp, Pugsley did have his his alarm set up to go off in case Slurp ever escaped. It's a whole bunch of fireworks, and while the camp troop Kruger was trying to like get back and try to, even though Nevermore won fair and square, he's like, no, like, the fact of the matter is we refuse to accept defeat. So they were going to, I forgot what they were actually planning on doing, like sabotaging some stuff to try and get them out of there. But he ends up tripping on the fireworks, falls into the tent, and becomes Slurp's next victim and gets brutally murdered. So then he ends up escaping, becomes an axe-wielding zombie. He ends up breaking in there while Gomez is taking a bath, and he's thinking it's Morticia because they have that sick relationship. But the fact he's like, ooh, axe play, my love. And then when like Slurp licks his back, he's like, ooh, you're a real tigress right now. And then it turns out to be Slurp, and Pugsley protected him, and he felt very disheartened when it was all said and done, because it's like, oh, not only is Slurp being taken away, he's being taken away to Willow Hill, which is interesting considering that's at the forefront of all of this. So the only true friend Pugsley had now lost. I doubt there's going to be too much repercussion or I mean, who knows if there will be any at all for like, well, you kept a dangerous resurrected zombie who killed one person that they're aware of. I don't know if they're aware of the driver's ed teacher yet, so. Also, on the romance front, we have the Enid and Ajax situation finally coming to a close, where it's like, okay, how long have we been broken up? Because for him, it's like when they were at the campfire and she was beside Bruno, he was playing the guitar, and all the excuses she's made up until now, it finally clicks. He's like, I know Gorgons are kind of slow, but he's like, how long have we been broken up? She's like, the timid girl who was very insecure that you fell for, I'm not her anymore. I'm a lot more confident, especially with the pack. And for him, it's just like they had that whole, was it rats and squirrels can't, mingle. And so it is a thing of she should have told Ajax early on, but for her, it's like, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But for him, it's like, we could have had a conversation, or at the very least, you could have let me down. Like, dragging this out hurts more. Sometimes you do have to sadly just rip the band-aid off. But I love that when that all went down, those cadets came out and they were like, man, I actually feel bad for the Gorgons. It's like, yeah, me too. It's like, yeah, like that's hilarious. Well, sad, but hilarious that they, like, you had their support in that capacity. And then finally, we had the ending with the whole Thornhill thing, as I brought up earlier in the recording. The timing being so interesting that she's being transferred there, even though Fairburn made a whole point that she wanted to keep them separated, but maybe she thinks this will do more good, or it's just kind of like the facility she was at can't house her anymore. So it's like, we need to put her here. There's nowhere else she can be. But it's like the timing of her popping up now with everything going on, especially how it all relates back to Willow Hill. So, maybe this avian person, maybe who's to say that Tyler was her only puppet to manipulate? Who's to say this avian isn't in the same boat, that there aren't multitude of, kind of sleeper agents of sort waiting to be activated by her? And this is all, not unless that's what this was all about, that this was some long-winded thing to get her into Willow Hill by killing people who are investigating. Like, I don't know. First and foremost, we would need to know the reason why she's being transferred to Willow Hill now after this time. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.